Many are tempted to project an image of themselves that simply isn't true. Why do people feel the pressure to appear better than they actually are? How do you explain the fact that there will be very good, church-attending, volunteering, tithe-giving people at the white throne of judgment? How does that happen? How? How could church people, miss the most important thing? The answer is given by the life that each of us are living. Morgan Wilson, a woman who was just like all of us, and just like all of us, one day, it will be ashes to ashes and dust to dust. But hold up a second. You don't think that's the end, do you? Just like all others, Morgan Wilson had an outstanding appointment with eternity. She entered a mode of existence unlike anything she experienced on earth. Unknown to her, it was the day of judgment. One by one, the waiting souls were called to the door. When Morgan's turn came, she passed through the door, and what she saw simply took her breath away. Her eyes strained to take in the beauty and the majesty. Directly before her stood a great white throne. She looked into the face of the one that sat on it and was undone. The face radiated pure love and infinite sorrow. In that instant, Morgan realized that this face, this being, had somehow always been the reality behind every longing she ever had. The man's hands were scarred, as if they had been impaled by some sharp instrument. Morgan realized that she was in the presence of Jesus Christ. In a rich, pure voice, Christ called Morgan by name. Morgan was drawn forward like a magnet. She noticed 6 books stacked beside the throne. Christ picked up the first one, and Morgan got a glimpse of his title, the Book of the Law. Christ opened the book and placed it on his lap.
Morgan Wilson, what do you have to say regarding your life here on earth?
In spite of her violent trembling, Morgan found her voice.
Well, I try my best to obey your laws. When I think about other people, like Tiffany, we're out here going out smoking and drinking and sleeping with this one and that one. I feel like I did a little bit better than most.
My dear Lord, these laws are not ways for you to earn merit. No one can earn salvation by keeping the law. It's my free gift to those who love me.
Morgan asked,
well, if you knew we couldn't keep the law, why would you inflict them on us?
Because it was your diagnostics tool. A stamp that you could compare yourself to. But instead of you using the law to diagnose your condition, you use it to be your cure, allowing your disease to fester.
Christ closed the book of the law and picked up the next volume, Morgan Wilson's Book of Works.
Works? Oh yeah, I got this one. Works? Oh yeah. I went to church every Sunday. I took care of my pastor. I paid my tithes. I fed the homeless on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. I got this. I did my works.
But according to this book, you did none of those things with my glory in mind.
Oh.
You drew attention and glory all to yourself. Your public deeds made you look dedicated and noble in front of people, and they gave you praise for them, and that was the reward you sought, and that was the reward you got. Therefore, you need no reward from me.
Christ closed the book and reached for the next one, Morgan Wilson's Book of Secrets. As he opened the cover, Morgan's apprehension grew. So far, things had not gone well for her. She trembled to think what these pages might reveal.
Morgan, you have a lot of entries in this book. Let's look at some of the things you did in secret. As I look over the entries, I see consistent infractions that whenever you thought the police weren't around, you would drive above the speed limit.
Oh, please, be reasonable. That's such a tiny, insignificant thing. Everybody did it. Everybody.
Insignificant? Insignificant it may be, but it was the laws of your land, which you were charged to obey. And all these acts undermine your claim to respect the law. And such disobedience of even the tiniest of these laws show that you have no real respect for the law at all.
This don't look good. But nothing I did ever hurt anyone. No one.
Oh yeah? No one? No one? Well, how much did your porn viewing and adultery destroy the intimacy of your marriage? What did your chapel with those AC systems cost families who couldn't afford it? How much did your lawless driving endanger the lives of others on the road? The bottom line is this: your good works you did in public, and the evil ones you did in secret. You should have done the opposite.
Christ shook his head and closed the book. He picked up the next one. Morgan Wilson's Book of Conscience. Hope instantly drained from Morgan's heart. She dreaded what this book might reveal.
You replaced the voice of your conscience with another, the voice of self-justification. That voice convinced you that both your porn indulgence and your secret affairs were justified, shutting down your conscience and allowing you to replace the truth with self-justifying lies that you told yourself. Those lies became your truth. You convinced yourself that God would not condemn anyone who believed anything sincerely. And he finally gave you over to your desires and allowed you to be deceived by your own lies.
Morgan, now in utter despair, grabbed at one last strand of hope. She remembered grace. She would make a plea for God's grace, which she'd been told was vast enough to cover all sins. Maybe that's why this last unopened book is so enormous, she thought. Maybe it's a book of grace. Jesus picked up the heavy volume. This is the book of life. The name of every person ever born has been entered into it. Tragically, however, many of the names no longer appear. They have been blotted out. Jesus turned slowly through the pages, scanning each one. Finally, he closed the volume and looked at Morgan sadly.
I'm sorry. Your name is not in here.
Oh my God.
You don't belong to me. Therefore, I must banish you from my presence. As your books have already shown, you did the visible things that brought you praise. Everything you did was not for others, but for you. You cannot love me if you do not love others. Though you wore my name, though you went to church every Sunday, though you paid tithes and gave offerings, though you clothed the homeless and fed them, you said all the right words, but you never belonged to me.
But what about grace? Can't you give me grace?
My grace was always available to you. All you had to do was place your trust in me and make me the Lord of your life. Had you done that, Morgan, had you done that, my grace would have freely covered all of your sins and your failures. But you never surrendered yourself and allowed me into your heart. Therefore, Morgan, I never knew you. Depart from me, you work of iniquity.
One of the bright beings approached and led Morgan toward another door. This one dark and ominous on the far side of the great hall. There she was thrust into the darkness. She heard nothing but the horrible sound of her own weeping. She was isolated in eternity. She had lived for herself. She had made herself the most important entity in her life. Now in death, she had been granted exactly what she always loved best, the company of herself and nothing else, forever.